does the human mind come from? What is the source of the human mind? Where did it come from? So that's my question. And I ask because of the question of rationalism. Thank you. So let's hear from all of us. Let's start with Sister Myra. Where do you think the brain comes from?
I think if there are two philosophies of what the universe is made of, spirit and matter, and if we say that we are matter, so everything comes from matter, and we are part of that material, then I think the brain comes from matter.
Thank you very much. Sister Ida, what do you think?
I think that the brain is something that is constantly developing, unless it's stressed by illness or something. And I presume that if it's constantly developing, it's also like what we eat affects us, mind and body. So I think it's part of the matter in the universe affects our brain. Matter in the universe, matter in the world, not necessarily just the universe.
My question is, what about the brain itself? Where does it come
Yes,
from?
so I think it's affected by...
not what's affected by. What? No, my question is, what is its origin, not what affects.
What is its origin? Birth, I think.
Birth,
so I don't know. Well, I think it's something that's passed on through birth, and when you become a human.
Thank you very much. Brother Pigeon, what is your thinking?
This is a very tricky question. But then, from the psychology classes, a teacher will say that the brain of a child is tabula rasa. It means it's an empty brain. We believe that when a child is born, the brain is slate. It's like an open field with nothing. Then now they now start filling the ideas, which probably I might be asking myself, is the ideas that make the brain, or do we discuss the brain as being an open field with nothing? But even if it's an open field, you say that anything occupies space is matter. So I say it's from matter. I can't say it's coming in here. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, you do realize that you have just stated the empirical position, not the rationalist position. Yeah, that's what you stated, the empirical position, that the brain, when you are born, this either says when you are born, you get your brain from birth. And what you are saying is that brain you get from birth is empty, and then you fill it in. So that's the empiricist position that you state. I hope you realize that. The rationalist position says what you're saying is not true, and that the brain that you get from birth, Sister Ida has explained, already comes with innate ideas. So just bear that in mind. Brother Kwame Gonza, what do you think? The source of the brain.
The brain or the mind?
The brain. Well, the brain is the physical. There can be no mind without brain, because for you to use your mind, you have to have a brain.
Yes.
So the brain.
The brain is given at birth, so it's given.
Sorry?
The brain, I think, is given at birth and it's given by nature, therefore.
Okay, so you think it comes from birth and nature. So do you think that it comes already with ideas, or the ideas
that
I think that the mind come from?
Yeah, I think that the mind is the conscious part of the brain. The mind is what gives the brain its consciousness. And of course, you come with certain ideas, like when the child is born, immediately he knows how to suck, like him how to suck. No one has taught him, but immediately it drops down, bring him or her, they put him on the breast, he knows how to suck. So that is the mind. It becomes, programmed. I mean, the brain comes already with the mind programmed in a certain way by nature, that this is what you are when you arrive. You're supposed to adapt to the environment, and these are the things we are brought with. So the other things are added later as the person is being taught.
So, Mr. Gonza, if I push your position further back into history, to the first human that came on Earth, do you think they came or knowing how to suck already as a child? But do you think they
I think it is as they have as different people have speculated about the evolution. So I think it depended on in which that first man appeared and what was surrounding him. Like what we say in the African way, that we are not different from nature. So we react to nature, whether it is for survival and all this. If there's annihilation, then we adopt accordingly. So I think that depending on how nature was existent or was reacting that time, I think that is how man was brought to respond to that. So he had some ideas, of course, which were existent in his mind.
Right. Okay. So you notice that. Yeah. Hold on before you come in. So you notice that all of us have given responses, very interesting responses, from Tamara saying that it's from matter, to Ida and Brother Kwame Gonza, who are saying that it's from birth, and then Brother Pigeon, who is saying that one can take a psychological position, and which is an empiricist position. Now, the point here is that we are not saying one is wrong and the other one is right. It's right, the other one is wrong. That's what we are saying. Consciousism is saying that be aware of these two positions. And these are the two scientific positions. And just be aware of them as you engage in the struggle, basically. As you engage in the struggle, be aware that what people know, some of it may come from within them, or it may come from their experiences. And we have to be aware of both. So that's basically what he's saying. So there's no wrong or right answer here. Now, but Pigeon, you wanted to ask a question, then I'll go to some clarifications, and then we'll move on with the book. Oh, but before you come in, Brother Gonza, be ready to share if you want to share what is on the screen here after Mr. Pigeon has his question. Yes, Brother Pigeon.
Yeah, you asked Brother Kwame when the man came, or when the man came. My question is, where did that man come from?
Where did that? Where the first human? Even the first human.
Where did they come from?
First human. The first human. So the first human. The question is whether the first human, however the first human came, yeah, however the first human came, did that first human come with innate ideas or not, or did that first human learn, get to know the world through experience? That is the question we are trying to answer. There are different views on how the first man came, depending on your position. There is the scientific position, which is evolutionary, that says that man came through the evolution of animals and so on. And then there is a non-scientific position that says that there was a creator, and then that creator made man. Incidentally, somehow would have thought the woman was made first before the man, but it's turned upside down, that the man was made first before the woman. Others don't agree. Others say the woman came first before the man. So there are different positions on how man came to be in the world. For us, that is not what we are concerned with. What we are concerned with in this paragraph is however the man came, did he or she, so is a man here as male and female, yeah? Did he or she come already with ideas in the head, in the brain, in the genes, however, or did he or she come, did he or she learn, get knowledge through experience in the world? That for us. And this paragraph is basically telling us that as freedom fighters, basically, we should just be aware that there are these different positions. It's not about right or wrong, because it's hard to prove. The empiricist position has limitations, and I explained that the last time. And one of the limitations is that empiricism is based on experience, and the experiences you have today may be contradicted by the experiences of tomorrow. So I gave you the example of the chicken that was fed every day of the year. How was the chicken to know that on Christmas Day, after it's been fed, it will be killed and made into a pot of soup? That chicken has no way of knowing. Then on Christmas Day, you come to feed the chicken again. The chicken assumes that it will be fed, only for its head to be chopped off and made into soup for the family to eat on Christmas Day. So the experiences of the chicken that it was fed every day in the past was no guarantee that that is what will happen in the future. So there are limitations to empiricism. Now with rationalism, there are also limitations. How can we ever know that such a thing as 1 billion exists? We can never experience it. We can never know. We can only know through our rational thought. But how do we know if it is true or not? We say it's true because rationally we can see it's true. But is it? That's the question. So yeah. So we just need to be aware as freedom fighters that there are limitations to rationalism and there are limitations to empiricism. Just because an African has thought about something and laid out his or her thinking, which looks very, very logical, does not mean that it is true. The logic may be faulty. We need to be aware of that. And the logic may contradict experience and vice versa. So we just have to be aware of. Do I make sense? Now, I'm sure Brother Gonza would like to contribute, but before he does, let me clarify a question that you asked, Brother Pigeon. The inside the outside thesis is different from what we are discussing. The inside outside thesis is talking about whether the universe itself has a cause or not. That's what it's about. Yeah? That's what it's about. If it has an outside, then it has a cause. If it has no outside, then the cause is within it. So that's the inside outside thesis. Rationalism and empiricism are about what is happening inside the universe. Does that make sense? It's what is happening inside the universe. And if you take the human brain, you can say that inside the brain and outside the brain. Anything that is outside you is your external world. Anything inside your head is your internal world. But that internal, that inside, outside is different from the universal thesis of the inside, outside thesis. So they are two different things. I hope that clarifies that for you. Yeah?
It makes some, yeah, it gives clarity. Yeah, that I got some interesting something that speaking in criticality is that when you say that we need to understand and embrace, not actually to contradict which one is best, but rather to embrace these two ideologies or these two thinkings, then
they are scientific positions.
Yeah, these two scientific positions, then does it mean that even in our struggle for liberation for Africa, we must actually be flexible enough to know when to apply it?
Yes, we have to, because sometimes somebody will come and tell you something that sounds very reasonable, very logical, rational, and yet your experience contradicts it. Rather, what you are saying, I'm sorry, doesn't represent my experience. And then you might lay out your experience, and it turns out that your experience has no basis in rationalism. See, so the poverty of Africans. Somebody will say, well, we are poor because we are religious. Is that true? Maybe we are religious because we are poor, and we are poor because we are exploited. You see, so sometimes we have to be mindful as Africans. You see, African leaders must understand a lot of things, And one of them is what Nkrumah is telling us. We must understand that knowledge knowledge can be produced through the rationalist project and through the empiricist project. The classic example of the rationalist project is mathematics, chapter 5 of Constantism, if you like. The classic example of the empiricist position is physics. It's physics. So those two sciences are examples for us. And you will agree with me that, of course, we need both. Of course, mathematics has limitations, although people don't know that or don't think so. Mathematics has limitations, but so has physics. Physics also has limitations. So, for example, in physics, we don't know today what dark matter is. What is dark matter? It occupies about 90% of the universe. But what is it? We don't know. We just know that it's there, but we don't know what it is. So there are limitations. And I think as freedom fighters, we just need to be mindful that these scientific positions are there, and we need to engage with them as leaders. We need to ask questions. We shouldn't take things for granted, and so on and so forth. So let Brother Gonza Kami, I think he might want to contribute, and then we'll come back to you, Brother Pigeon. Mr. Gonza.
Hello.
Want to contribute? Yeah, want to contribute to the paragraph on the screen based on what we've discussed so far?
I think that what the paragraph saying, the writer here is grappling with the two, of course, schools of thought, which you have already been explaining when we talk about the rationalists and their explanation of things. And then the so-called idealists.
We mean the empiricists.
And yes, and the imperialists. So the empiricists. So I think what I'm very interested in is to see at the end what Nkrumah's conclusion is regarding these. Of course, we have not reached that position, but I think that the issue with the Western world is the overemphasizing of positions. Like you are trying to explain why a child comes, for example, and the child knows how to suck the breast, and no one has taught the child. It's just one day, maybe a few hours. He is out, he's put on the breast, and he knows how to suck. So if you are saying that, if you are an empiricist and you are saying that these things, everything comes from outside, then where have these ideas come from to enter the child when no one has taught the child, and the child even has no capacity to learn? So then how do you explain that? So, and then when you go to the other side also of over-reliance on the idea that everything comes from the spiritual, comes from inside, then also that becomes a problem, because to a certain extent, these them come from outside and others come from inside, depending on the environment where man is, because man has been developing for all this long, whatever, whether it was created or evolved, or from those stages, man has been adopting and evolving, and his mind, those who study the minds, so even some people, they say, oh, whether we have bigger minds, we have bigger brains today and stuff like that, that these days to the first man, the first people who existed, we have bigger brains. So this shows you that man has been adopting to the environment. So the child is brought with some ideas which come from internal. He knows how to suck the breast. And then the mother teaches him and the father teaches him, and the environment, as he interacts with the environment, some of the knowledge comes from outside. And of course, there is certain, even if it did not, there was no people and there was only food which was given, you would see that as it grows up, and adopts to the environment and it grows up as a human, still certain ideas come from, and as also the body grows up, even certain ideas continue to come from inside of him, certain yearnings as the body changes. For example, I think they did a study whereby they put two people, a boy and a girl. I think they isolated them and they never taught them anything about sex, but after some time they came back and the girl was pregnant. So who told them that they're supposed to have sex, and then they should get pregnant? So you see that the ideas we are coming both from outside and inside as they are growing and bodies are changing, the brains are growing. So I think that the African position is the one which is very clear, and maybe other people like the Indians and Chinese, the eastern part, that they understand that the world is not that it should take, for example, and say, oh, capitalism, oh, this is spiritual world, spiritual. I'm not supposed to interfere in the physical world. Me, I'm a spiritual person. Or me, I'm strictly a materialistic person. I'm a heathen. I don't interfere with spiritual things. The African way of life, or even the Eastern way of life, understands that all these things are connected, whether it is the spiritual and the physical. Both of them are connected and they work together for the existence of support his existence, and of course the continuation of the universe itself and continuation of nature.
Thank you very much for your extended exposition and for sharing your thinking, Brother Gonza. So, Brother, we'll go on to the next paragraph, but before that, I think Brother Pigeon has a question.
Thank you. I just wanted to be very brief. That in the aspect of the things internal and things external, can it be related to African context and struggles of Africa? It might not claim that the whole problem of Africa might be external, I mean either outside Africa, but there's possibility that the problems of Africa are also internal. And therefore, in our approach to address this, we must have both solutions to address the external and the internal process of what's going on in Africa. And also in the aspect of empiricism being an experience, I remember Sankara said that revolution cannot be exported. But the context and the experiences you're seeing of what goes on in Ghana is not the same as the struggles of what went on in Kenya. And therefore, you cannot actually transport directly the application and methods used for Ghana in order to attain independence and apply it in Kenya. And therefore, we need actually to also understand that even as we struggle for the liberation of the African, we cannot have a blanket solution for the whole continent and actually come up with this is the method that works. We must put into consideration these experiences, think different, and also ensure that we create each solution for each context based on their setups and how their experience is better.
No, that's a very important point, because even if you take a village, just one small village, and then you say we want to help all families in this village with school fees, you will find that every child in that village has a different individual micro context. Aha. So you are right. And that's why consensusism, that its position is that you must look at the concrete conditions of people. And that is why policy has to be scientific. And that is why we are looking, if you like, at empiricism and rationalism. That there can be a rationalist basis for policy, and there can be an empiricist basis for policy. But we as Africans must just be aware that both positions are valid, but both positions have limitations. And we should not go, as Mr. Gonza was explaining, into too much extreme. Yeah. But then this then leads us nicely to our next paragraph, which is that what we are saying, we are not saying that there's no such thing as spirit. That's not what we are saying. We are merely saying that which one is primary, which one comes first. And as materialists, we say that matter comes first. In the sense in which Sister Myra explained that the brain is from matter. So the next paragraph, Sister Ida, are you able to read for us? And I haven't myself shared my thinking because I think I've shared it in the process of responding. So I don't want to say any more than that. So let's go to the next paragraph. Sister Ida, are you able to read for us?
I think so. Is it as
Excellent.
to
Whilst you are
idealism?
reading, that's it. As you are reading, I'll use the bathroom quickly. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
So read, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
As to idealism, it is a species of philosophy in which spiritual forces are recognized as being primary, a matter held to be dependent for its existence on spirit. In Leibniz's idealist philosophy, for the sake of an example, matter is even said to be really unconscious spirit. And in Berkeley's idealist philosophy, though matter is not said to be spirit, but an ideal possessed by spirit, its existence and continuance is said to consist in it being possessed by spirit. For Leibniz, the world was nothing but spirit. For Berkeley, it was nothing but spirits and their knowledge. Since, however, the central tenet of idealism is the withdrawal from matter of an existence independent of spirit, materialism, in its opposition to idealism, must, as a minimum, assert the independent existence of matter. Whoa. Okay. That's the paragraph.
That's probably again. Okay. Let's get some time personally or individually to go through again the paragraph at individual level.
Yeah, it was quite a tough one.
To see if you can be able to grasp some of the contents shared there. As Brother Comment will be coming in so that we share our thinking. But it's quite a heavy content anyway. But we have to have the solution before.
Maybe somebody can reread it.
Let me reread it again. As to idealism, it is a species of philosophy in which spiritual factors are recognized as being primary, and matter has to be on spirit. In Leibniz's idealist philosophy, for the sake of an example, matter is even said to be really unconscious spirit. And in Berkeley's idealist philosophy, though matter is not said to be spirit, but an idea possessed by spirit, its existence and continuance is said to consist in its being possessed by spirit. For Leibniz, the world was nothing but spirit. For Berkeley, it was nothing but spirits and their knowledge. Since, however, the central tenet of idealism is the withdrawal from matter of an existence independent of spirit. Materialism, in its opposition to idealism, must, at a minimum, assert the independent existence of matter. Hope nowadays I read very slowly.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the
Thanks for
rereading.
rereading it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always good to reread things so that...
That one was very tough.
It is tough, but it's not really tough, but it is tough. I understand
Okay.
what you mean. Let me welcome Comrade Nobi Mapoma, who has joined us. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you
So
so
just
much.
so you know, yeah, that's fine. So we read and then we share. We are reading the philosophy and ideology of Pan-Africanism, which was put together for us by Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. the leading Pan-Africanists, the father. Some people describe him as a father of Pan-Africanism. And having led the decolonization movement from 1947 to 1957, put together this book. This book is like, if you like, can see it as a summary of his philosophical position that enabled Africa to win the colonial struggle. When Nkrumah left Africa to America, and his one goal when he left was to find a formula with which to rid Africa of colonialism. And this book is a summary of the philosophical position that he used. And he's bequeathed it to us. He's passed it on to us. Unfortunately, Africans are not engaging with the philosophy and the ideology, partly because something is tough, also because it's been attacked on a sustained basis, and so on. So Nobi Amapoma, I'm only sharing this so that you understand where we are coming from. So one of the purposes of this class is to make this philosophy and ideology, if you like, more common, or make it available for exposition, for discussion, and so on amongst our African brothers and sisters. It is not possible, I don't think, for an African leader take on imperialism and its current form, which is neo colonialism, without a philosophical position that puts him or her on a pedestal that is unassailable. Because if you're not on that pedestal, that unassailable pedestal, you will be brought down. And if you are brought down in your head, you will be brought down physically as well. So it's important for Africans to be armed with the kind of thinking that Nkrumah had. That means that your victory is assured. And so this book is a summary, if you like, of the Pan-African struggle from before 1900 all the way to 1957 and beyond, when he wrote the book. So I'm sharing this so that those of us who have joined, like Brother not be.
Okay, thank you so much.
Victor has also heard what I've said. So thank you. So what we do is we read a paragraph, then we share our thinking. We don't share our viewpoint. We don't share our opinions. We share our thinking, because thinking is a key thing. Opinions can sometimes be faulty, but thinking is your thinking. So you share your thinking, and then we listen to you, and then we add what we think, and then we all grow in our thinking. So that is it. So thank you very much for those who have joined us, maybe for the first time today, like Victor and Nobby. So we've read that paragraph again, and let's share our thinking. Let's start with this time, Brother Kwame Gonza. Thank you.
Yes, I think here we are struggling with the question of chicken, whether it's the chicken or the egg which came first, with the issue of spirit. Idealism is a species of philosophy in which spiritual factors are recognized as being primary. So I think there's an attempt to separate here the spirit from matter, as is saying in the last line, that materialism, in its position, in its opposition to idealism, must as a meaning of matter. So to say one position, of course, is saying, which is Leibniz, which he said is saying that matter is said to be unconscious, and another one is saying matter is knowledge possessed of the spirit. So I think these are two positions which we can reconcile as a people, and reach a conclusion. What do we want to take? For example, if you say matter is completely empty, and yet we say that matter is where everything comes from. So these two people have two positions. So one is saying it doesn't have anything, is empty, is unconscious. And then another one is saying it is knowledge possessed of the spirit. So I think it's an attempt to explain, a difficult phenomenon. But when we go back, of course, to nature and we study, I think everyone can reach his conclusion. But for me, the conclusion I reach is that matter in itself is possessed with, let me say, knowledge, or a certain amount of knowledge, or maybe we can call it wisdom, which is sufficient for that particular moment. And this is what explains good and bad to a certain extent, that people are programmed, or people can be taught to be good and bad, or in which they are living can either teach them to be good and bad. But initially, when they are brought and the conditions are stable, those people, they possess certain understanding of their environment in which they are living. So that understanding is just sufficient for them to live in harmony with the environment. If the external conditions maybe are extreme, then this pushes humanity, or it pushes the person to acquire certain knowledge, new knowledge, for them to exist within that environment. So it might be that at a certain point, this matter is possessed with sufficient knowledge to support our existence. But then, of course, we are influenced by the external environment, whether you are being taught from Chinese education, whether you are being taught from an African education system, or you are being taught from a European education system, and how you continue with that. And I think that this also goes back to explain what Nkrumah mentioned at around the opening of this book, somewhere, I don't know, in one of the chapters, that the colonial must not just take in whatever they are teaching him, must take it and adopt it. You must force yourself to adopt in taught, and not just like the World Bank, or they have taught you, for example, Adam Smith, and all the other economic, the people, really, I see that their thinking really was, it is not something that should be taught in our schools, even though some elements of their philosophy or their theories should be taught, but I don't think that it should be taught in its entirety. And if it is being taught, especially in the African context, it should also be explained the time in which these people propounded these theories. Like, you look at people like, for example, Adam Smith, when he was writing his, nations, wealth of nations, and he was explaining that Africans are not rich because their environment is easy to live in. They can just climb trees and take fruits. And therefore, that's why Europe is rich, because conditions were very hard for over there. And now when we come to, those books are still being used, but they don't explain to you that when this man was writing, he was influenced by racist thinking about Africa, but his things are still being taught in school as if these things are true. And yet there is other conditions which are our condition, why we are where we are. We have certain other conditions which are making what we have. So this, I think that explains what we are talking about, that matter is endowed with certain amount of knowledge or spirit. Of course, the knowledge is in the spirit, which is just sufficient. It's just sufficient for you to live environment when you are brought here, and then you adopt according to the environment, and then more, more is enriched. You as you go on, whether for good or for bad, depending on what is happening.
Thank you very much, brother Gonza. Let's hear from Sister Ida, please.
I was interested in that both of them were saying that spirit was something that was to be taken into account. And I thought, oh, okay. Because I think there'd always been one that was spirit and another that was matter. But now it looks like both are saying that spirits are important. And so to me, that was interesting.
Sister, quick one. Just
yes,
note that.
Can you not hear me?
No, I can't. I'm just drawing your attention to that. Leibniz is a new introduction. We looked at Berkeley and Thales before. Thales has said water, and Berkeley said spirit. But in this paragraph, dwelling on spiritual factors, Krumah then introduced Leibniz in addition to Berkeley. So we are still looking at what those who believe that the universe is made up of ideas, what they are saying. Yeah.
Yes, but they're saying that that spirits have a hand in the ideas, or both of the people they've mentioned, Berkeley and Leibniz, are both saying that spirits have some.
Because that is because both of them are idealists. That's why.
Okay. Sorry, I hadn't. I think I'm going to leave it at that because that was what I noticed. But if you're telling me they're both from the same side, then
they are both from the same side. And in this paragraph, Nkrumah introduces us to our position where we want to oppose. So remember, the two philosophical positions are opposed to one another, or opposed to each other.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Materialists do not accept the idealist position that spiritual factors are primary. And that's where this idea comes from. Like, just pray. If you just pray, everything will be okay, and so on. So the materialists are opposed to the position, and idealists think that materialists are also talking nonsense. And so the two positions are opposed. We are looking in this paragraph at philosophy in retrospect, and Nkrumah is introducing us, if you like, to the big philosophical arguments. And that is what we are dealing with. So we are not even dealing with what is happening in the world and how people explain the world. We are dealing with, if we take this universe, what kind of universe is it? That is the question. And where did it come from? What is its origin? So I just thought I would come in there with Sister Ida's. Yes. Did you want to share your thinking now, or?
Yeah, I'm close to losing my thinking.
All right, share your thinking then, and then we'll go on to Sister Shireen. Welcome to the conscious system class. Yeah. Go on, Brother Pigeon. Oh no worries at all.
Yeah, I think what is very clear here is what is primary, not opposing the existence of both, but what is primary. And my thinking is that making spirits being the primary is being more conservative, because spirit is just an element of matter. As to the materialist position, they assume that spirit is just a component of matter. Therefore, it's just an equal existence of many other things that occupy space. But if you go to the side that thinking that matter might be a spirit may be a component of, no, matter can be a component of spirit, then it's like limiting yourself in a way. And that's why I think that these idealists tend to be more of conservative or liberals. Because in materialist position, if spirit is a component, because materialism from the aspect that matter is anything that occupies space. So it's not only spirit that occupy this space. There are so many things that moving on. What you say, the kinetic energies, the spirits, we accept from that aspect that the spirits, yes, are in existence. But the other components of what is space is universe. And that makes it more broad enough that then you will view spirit not as a primary alternative or option for your action, but just as an alternative. It's just an alternative, not a primary option for your action. For example, when you hub up from them, you don't just first of all pray as a solution, as an alternative. Prayer can be there, yes. Be accompanied by fast acting. So don't rely first on prayers alone. For example, we've been praying as Africans for so long. Has it stopped the West from looting our resources or from our president looting everything else? No. But we must understand that we don't actually reject prayers. But prayers are not primary solution. And they are something that's more primary than prayers. Prayers may just be an enforcement of what you're doing. And I think there was this resistance, and this is what I'm trying to read that it is actually the discussion between what came first, as Brother Gonza said, it's between the chicken and the egg. But to me, it's very clear that materialist position can be more wider position and more wider aspect that can actually accommodate everything than going directly to the spiritual position, which I think is more limiting and more limiting to my thinking. So that's what I would like to share. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just bear in mind that idealists don't accept what you said about spirit being an element. They think spirit is a totality. That's why matter is also seen as an unconscious spirit. But thank you very much for applying. You've also applied thinking to solutions already. So thank you very much.
Brother Kwame.
Yes.
Kwame.
Yes.
Well, Leibniz idealist position, for the sake of an example, matter is even said to be a really unconscious spirit. What is that?
Yes. That's it, the point. The point is that because they see spirit as primary, everything is spirit. Everything is spirit. So matter is spirit that is unconscious. You see? Now if you take people like Leibniz and his philosophical position, we also have materialists that also take that position. And we call them the hardcore materialists. For them, everything is matter. Thoughts are matter. The words you are speaking are matter. Everything for them is matter. For them, there's no such thing as spirit. We conscientists take a middle position, maybe because we are Africans. We say that, look, yes, matter is primary, but we also recognize that there's something called spirit. But the hardcore materialists say, no, there is no such thing. There's no such thing as spirit. Spirit is just matter. So you have them on one side, and then you have the Leibniz people on the other side saying, no, you are wrong. Everything is spirit. The matter is even unconscious spirit. so you have these two opposing positions. Thank you. Right. So we've heard from Brother Kwame Gonza. We've heard from Sister Ida. We've heard from Brother Pidgin. Let's now hear from Brother Mapoma, please. Not be Mapoma. I think you've heard a lot to be able to contribute now. Yes.
Yeah, just a short contribution.
However short, we value it, sir.
Okay. So my thinking takes me to the first sentence in the paragraph. Where it says, as to idealism, it is pieces of philosophy in which spiritual factors are recognized as being primary. Now, this actually brings me to what I have seen actually happening in Africa. This is something I think in the African setup, this is the position I think that we are born with in Africa. We are brought up to think everything is about spirits. And that's why the focus, even from childhood, is about praying, either to pass an exam, to get a job. Sometimes we even lose it to a point that we don't put in the effort in achieving what we want to achieve because we think the spirits take a greater or a primary position in us achieving what we want to achieve than actually putting in something ourselves. The best we can do in most cases in Africa is prayer. I'm from Zambia. I think a few years back, and there was a time when the economy was quite very bad, and the government then declared a day to pray for the economy, and everyone went with it. So that's where this part comes in for an African. It's something I think that an African finds himself, not that they want to adopt it by their own choice, but it's embedded. They grew up in a society where it takes the primary position in their lives. Sometimes they give an example of an African would pray to God to ask for a chair, and yet he's got a tree. Not knowing that the chair, if I get a tree, I can make the chair. But he'll pray day and night praying for a chair. And yet there's a tree that he can make a chair from. So the other philosophy, the materialist philosophy, I think that's the one that needs to be taught more, especially in the African setup, to understand that actually the world is about matter and not really just about spirits. In my own view, my thinking is that actually I tend to disregard the spirit position very much and take up the idea that the world is about matter, and we have to take that matter and make something out of it that we want. And I think even as an African community, our development starts from there, that matter exists for us to transform in what we want. Because for spirits, it's difficult to actually change the position of the spirit. If the spirit is not for the idea that you take this route, you can't change that. But you can change matter from one state to the other. And the Western world, I think that's the approach they've taken. And I think that's where they are in comparison to where we are. I think that's my take.
Thank you very much for your take. Very, very insightful. Thank you so much. Well, let's hear from Sister Myra, please.
So I think what here the author is trying to explain is the fundamental belief of idealism, which is that for them, the spiritual factors are primary, and that matter comes from the spirit, and that therefore matter is dependent on the spirit for its existence, while the materialism is saying no, matter exists on its own and it's independent of spirit. And it's interesting here where it says, for Berkeley, he said, matter is an idea possessed by spirit. And it made me think about that concept of otherness that came with racist colonialism, because this was the Western philosophy that matter is an idea possessed by spirit. And if you think that idea is perceived in the mind, its ideas is like knowledge. So when these colonialists came to Africa and they met civilizations and peoples with systems, and they had no idea, they had no knowledge of this world. Based on this philosophy, they thought, well, if we have no idea of them and no knowledge of them, they must not be matter, so therefore they are base. They are not like us. They are less than us, and it was really obviously ignorant. It was just ignorance. But so for me, in that way, idealism is racist, because if you say that matter is an idea possessed by the spirit, then it's me who decides. It's me who decides. Do I perceive of this spirit, or do I perceive of this as an idea that is worthy? If I don't, then that doesn't exist to me, and therefore it is subhuman, and therefore I can exploit it like a beast of burden. So for me, that's what that made me think about, just that connection between the source of concept of otherness. And in fact, there is in the 15th century, there was after that discovered South America, and that killed off almost all the natives, and they were looking for a new source of labor. By then, Spain was the superpower, and they were Catholic, and they were against enslaving people that had a soul, right? And for them, people that had a soul were the ones that knew Christ. So then they started looking at Africa, and there was a debate between a priest that had been working in the South American lands, and I forgot the names, but I can look them up. And there was a gentleman that used to work in the king's court in Spain, and so the priest was saying, no, every human has a soul, and this courtier was saying, no, these black people do not have souls, therefore they don't have spirit, therefore they're not human, they're subhuman, therefore we can use them, we can enslave them. So at that time, this philosophy really, really contributed to seeing us Black Africans as less than human, and therefore we could be exploited. And that was idealism. That's what that made me think about.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for your, Brother Mapoma before you, for your insightful sharing of your thinking. So I don't break the thought. Let's go also now to Sister Shireen to also share her thinking. Sister Shireen, share your thinking. Sister Shireen doesn't appear to be ready, so let's continue. So we've heard from, so the time is 37 minutes past 8. We've heard from, I think, everyone. Yeah, we've heard from all of you, except myself and Sister Shireen. But I'm also sharing, so in a way, I'm also sharing. So I think everyone has shared their thinking. And yeah, and I think I agree with what everyone is saying. But what I notice is that, and that's interesting, that in a way we have all started applying a paragraph to the world around us. So Brother Mapoma, for instance, drew our attention to how a lot of people in Africa are idealists. And that is significant because almost all of us have come from the idealist camp. So the materialist camp is very small. We don't have a lot of people in the materialist camp. And then Sister Ida has drawn our attention, even gone further, which we will see later, has drawn our attention to the implications of ideology or the philosophy for society. And Sister Mara has drawn our attention to the fact that if you're an idealist, you end up being a racist, because the racist position is an idealist position. I think she's given an examples of what it means. And as she was talking, I was laughing because the struggle between Palestine and Israel is a very good example. It's because the Jewish thought does not see Palestinians as human beings, but they should just disappear. and then and Hamas I say, hey, look, we are human beings, or the Palestinians. But look, hold on, we are human beings. We can't just disappear, and so on. So that racism, which some have called apartheid, because that's what was South Africa. Some are referred to the Israeli position as an apartheid position. But it's an idealist position because it's based on the Jewish religion. The Jewish religion, as you will understand from this paragraph, it says that spiritual factors are primary. So yeah. Now, the only thing I would say, I mean, taking into account what everyone has said, is that look, if Africans are idealists, I think it would take us it will be a big task to try and change Africans from being idealists to materialists. So we should not be concerned about that. So what should we be concerned about? What we should be concerned about is how many of these idealists can we get to be materialists and constitute an African leadership that will help take the continent forward. That is what we can do. Because you can't tell the Africans to stop praying, because they won't stop praying. They'll continue to pray. You can't stop them from praying. They'll continue to pray. So what we need is basically to spread the philosophical message and get a group of Africans continentally who, as a leadership, take a materialist position, and then they can then lead the continent and transform the continent with the help of the same people. Because the people believe that you are for them, they'll pray for you anyway, so you have no problem. They'll pray for you, so you're okay. Of course, you want their prayers, so that's not the problem. So I think we should look at how we can put together a continental leadership whose philosophical position is materialism. And CSG has been working with our brother in Kenya to look at something called Pasofu, which is it possible for us to draw young men and women begin to see themselves as the African leadership and begin to look at consensusism as their philosophy and ideology, and then begin to take territorial leadership? Can we bring these young men and women together from North Africa to South Africa so that they begin to talk amongst themselves and think together and reason together and so on. And get them to be able to see themselves as perhaps the new leadership. In the way Nkrumah puts it, put the youth at the head of the insurgent masses. So the youth, we should begin to encourage the youth to have confidence in themselves and see themselves as the new leadership, and then make this consensus available for them. And then so we provide, if you like, some kind of leadership training for them through consensus, so that they can have confidence in themselves and begin to articulate the welfare, the needs and welfare of our people. And that becomes the basis of the political party, that our people need this. These are the needs of our people. And the resources of Africa must be used to meet the needs of our people. And so this is a materialist position, because water, as far as I know, is matter. Water is not spirit. A house is matter. School fees is matter. A school is matter. Clean water to drink is matter. Good roads is matter. All the things that matter to our transformation are all matter, as far as I can see. So what we need is that materialist leadership that will put the welfare of the African first as a supreme law and galvanize. So that is something we are looking at, CSG is looking at, PASOFU, so that we can see whether we can put out the call to get young people to begin to see themselves as the new leaders in every territory in Africa, from South Africa to North Africa. So in this paragraph, then, the question is, what is primary? And I think our position is that matter must be primary. Why? But the problem we have are all material. Good drinking water, good housing, good housing, good roads, good transport network, good communication network, good internet network, and so on and so forth. Good factories that will build the things we need. Industries. These are all material things. Yes, Brother Pigeon.
I like the point that all that matters to us is matter.
It's true. Yeah, so the time is 9:15. I think let's not read anymore. Let's go around and then just hear from everyone. What do you think you have learned today? And then, of course, we'll continue the reading from next week. So let's go around. Share with us your thinking. What do you think you have learned today? Let's start with Sister Shireen, as we haven't heard from her. Then from Sister Shireen, I'll go to Brother Victor. Sister Shireen, what have you learned today? Share with us your thinking, please. Right. Sister Shireen hasn't said anything. I don't know if she's put anything in the chat. Maybe, maybe not. All right. Brother Pigeon, is your hand up?
Yes, the point I was on mute. What I was saying is that having right actually move with what you say matter, anything that matter to us is matter. Yes, what you said is true. We are trying to work on that. But my question was this. You previously said that consciousness is becoming at the middle, is accepting the spirits and matter, but making spirit more secondary to matter. But the radical materialists do not believe in spirit because spirit is matter. And the radical idealists believe that matter is part of spirit. So do we bring them to the coexistence? As you said, back in our context of Africa, so many of us have been brought up in the idealist position. And therefore, the only position that can easily be adaptable is a middle position, which you say, and I believe is what consciousness is all about. Consciousness accepts the existence of spirit, but not as a consciousness accepts the existence of spirit, but as a secondary to matter, not actually a primary before matter.
Correct. That's
and
correct.
Therefore, In this aspect, then, it can be very easily adaptable to the people of Africa, telling them that before we say that you go pray, let's first of all ensure you have food. Let's first of all ensure you have a house. Let's first of all ensure you have clean water. Let's first of all ensure this and this. And then we'll tell you go pray later. But this aspect whereby you don't look for food, you don't look for water, you go look for prayer. Actually, as you said, prayer is not the problem of Africa. Spiritual things and spirituality is not the problem of Africa. African problem is more materials and the matter things that actually important ones. So I think packaging this information like this, because I've seen that those who believe in spirits or those pastors who pray are also saying that this book was just used to control us. And these ideas here are just to ensure that we are continuously controlled. So taking that position of conscience can be actually a good position that we need to organize and see how we can bring it forth as soon as possible, so that those people pray in Zambia for economy to go down, or in Kenya praying for economy to go down, can actually change their thinking and ensure that we focus first of all on the material condition for our people before we go to the spiritual things.
Well, thank you for your final thoughts on that. Let's hear from so we are going around now to hear people's final thoughts. We've got 12 minutes and then the meeting comes to an end. So let's hear from Brother Victor. Yeah, Victor, I know you've been on and off. Sorry about that. Probably your internet.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, share your thoughts.
My internet has been on. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so I think I've captured a very important point, majorly from your speaking, and also from the shared document on the screen. I'm seeing that this part that is really focusing on the knowledge and us acting in learning more of without feeling like we are independent of the spiritual aspect of us. And this is very important because every nation first, I always know that every nation first grows in the spiritual before it goes in the physical reality. I know that as a continent, we really need this as much as the knowledge need to come handy. The spiritual part of it need to be very, very deep and also able to connect, because the knowledge without the spiritual, I think it is making us to be more of materialistic, as you said. We are like focusing on more of things that come and go, to some extent, but also they are very important for us to be of existence. So I think that the first priority as a continent is to define a very clear way of how we are going to be engaging in terms of our way of life, in terms of the right build-ups that we need to put in place in our spiritual growth, but also on our type of the knowledge, because knowledge is so vast. I always say that there's some knowledge that if you were to put on yourself, you feel like they're taking you out of yourself, like you are disconnecting to your real self. So those need to be very part and parcel of how we define our own ideologies and make them in our way that is.
Oh, sorry. The brother has gone off again. I think, okay, well, I think he's shared his thinking. Okay, when he comes back. So let's hear from Sister Shireen. Yeah. Brother Victor, you are back. You went off slightly, so
sorry,
so
my network is
Shireen, can you hold on? I know, I know. Brother Victor, finish what you were saying, and then we hear from Sister Shireen.
So
So
we're just finalizing. I was just finalizing with my thoughts that a continent need a common ideology that does not discriminate, that does not feel that somebody is of low thinking, but a point that everybody need to connect from and get to. We're able to shield our people as we protect those who feel like are not in the right path, then we take them to the right direction. For the leadership that you focus on in terms of we need that is already set. I think Africa, we are going to be personally, I know from my heart that I'm going to be a very good leader in camps, not political one, but somebody who's going to be transforming our economies to be to change completely. I know from my personal experiences. Yeah. So leadership is going to change our continent. But just have I said that everything begin the spiritual to this part. So let me just stop there.
Yeah.
I'll share later. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Victor, thank you. Victor, get in touch with Brother Pigeon because you sound like someone with a lot of governmental experience, so we can tap into that. So please contact Brother Pigeon.
Okay.
Sister Shireen, final thoughts, please.
Greetings,
Yeah, Brother Pigeon,
greetings.
get in touch with him. We need him, yeah, to tap into his experience and knowledge. Thank you. Yes, Sister Shireen, final thoughts, please. Thank you.
Yeah, greetings. Okay, so without spirit, from what I see from this paragraph, nothing can exist. Because the creator is manifested in all living things. The creator is spirit, and without spirit is a movement, is it not? I'm kind of maybe undervaluing what I'm trying to say, but spirit
Yeah,
moves.
hold
Then
on, Sister Shireen, just before you
yes.
go on, just note that what you're saying is the idealist position. That's just because that's what you are. You are emphasizing the idealist position. Carry on.
Yes. Okay. So so there's the idealist, and then there's the what's the
The
what's the
materialist.
other
The
the
materialist
materialist.
position.
Okay.
So when you talk about the creator, I'm sure you're thinking about maybe a creator being, kind of maybe a spiritual being. Right?
Yeah,
And that's what
the creator.
that is what, yes, and that's what the first line of that paragraph is emphasizing, that those who take that position, that is what they say. So I'm just be mindful that the way you are putting it, it's okay, but just know that that is the idealist position. That's what I'm trying to say. That's all. Carry on with
Okay. Okay. I don't know whether that's, and obviously nothing is right or wrong in this class. Obviously there are some things that are way off.
It's not whether it's right or wrong. It's just that as Africans,
yes.
we just need to know, we need to be conscious of what it is, where we stand, what we believe, what we are saying. So if that is your personal position, that's your personal position.
But
okay?
Is that a
But
Eurocentric?
Sorry?
I was going to say, is that a Eurocentric view though? Or is it, because obviously
No. There are, no, as Victor has said, and as Brother Mapoma has said, there are Africans who take the position you take. There are Europeans who believe in that. There are Europeans who don't. So yeah, it's not Eurocentric or Afrocentric. It can be both.
Okay.
Okay, it seems to me, Sister Shireen, you need time to think through this and then share with us. So, and because of the time, we will come back to you next week if you are able to join us. You did have the chance to speak. I think you were not behind your machine at the time. So at this point, we're just sharing final thoughts. Looks like yours is a bit deep. So we will, yeah. So share with us next week. Think about it and more. Share with that. That's fine.
Thank you.
So we've heard from Brother Victor, Sister Shireen, final thoughts. We've heard from Brother Pigeon. Let's hear from Brother Mpoma, please. Final thoughts. So because of the time, we only got 4 minutes. So can we make our final thoughts very brief, please, everyone? Thank you.
Okay. My final thoughts, what I've learned today is that in this, in the idealist position, it takes the position that the world is nothing but spirit. I think it's something that I personally don't agree with. Like the Berkeley position, it says it was nothing but spirits and their knowledge. Like nothing exists minus the spirit. It's something I think that puts especially Africans at a disadvantage in terms of the approach to achieving what they want to achieve. It puts them at a disadvantage to achieve what we want to achieve. That's my take today.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's hear from, we've heard from, now let's hear, we're all on final thoughts, everyone. Sister Shireen, by the way, if you have final thoughts, you can share them before you go. Sister Ida, your final thoughts, please.
My final thoughts are that we just seem to have heard from the idealists, and we haven't really heard from the materialists, apart from what you've told us about everything being material. Well, that, you know, roads and stuff and all those things are needed. But I think that we've had a strong position of just hearing more about the idealists. And along the way, I remembered the saying that matter can neither be created or destroyed. And I was thinking of the 5 points of matter and things like that. And I was thinking, well, if we listen to the idealists, they would say that all of that is about spirits. And so then I started to query, well, I really need to hear more about what the materialists are really saying. So excellent. I'm sort of up in the air about most of it.
That's all right. That's a good position to be in. So basically, you are open-minded. So that's excellent. Brother Gonza, your final thoughts, please. So the time now is 1 minute to 9. Let's make our final thoughts brief, please, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, what I've understood is that we, of course, both of the sides, we are physical beings, and then we are primarily matter. That is why we require food to survive, and therefore we should, of course, put primarily our thinking in this line. But this does not mean that we are not spiritual beings. Of course, we should take time to think about spiritual things, because the spiritual life itself, it helps you to balance the physical life itself. So that is what I've understood from it.
Thank you for the final thoughts. Let's hear from Sister Myra. Sister Myra, your final thoughts, please.
Just to reiterate what Brother Mapoma said, that we can transform matter, and a lot of our brothers and sisters on the continent have no hope at all of things ever changing, or they don't have the belief that we can even change anything. But Dr. Kwame Nkrumah believed that we could one day defeat the legacy of colonialism and neocolonialism, and I think we can.
Thank you for your final thoughts. I think we've heard from everyone. Sister Shireen, I'm happy if you want to just put some final thoughts in, whilst you share your deeper thoughts with us next week. That's fine. The time is now 1 minute past 9. Next week. Okay. So we've come to the end of the class. I'm going to put on the Africa Must Unite song by Takama, Zion, and please feel free to leave as the music plays. Thank you all for coming, and see you all hale and hearty next week. Thank you.